Welcome back into Rover Sports. We are here on 97.5 HD2, live on Philly Air. For those who are listening live, it's Tuesday night. For those who are waiting for the incomparable Matt Vito to do his work, his magic, he's got it down to a science, and we anticipate receiving this Wednesday. So some of you guys will be streaming it, and a lot of you have your own style. You know that we have a certain pattern. We drop the show on a Wednesday, and we usually, by week's end, we're blessed with maybe 500 or 600 views. Actually, people who watch it, many of you from start to finish. And this is something we love doing, Spencer. It's a joy. We love Charlie and Dr. Lewis and Josh. This is our passion, really. And it's, for me, it is, you could say a hobby, but it's a passion. Like any good hobby, it's a passion. We are going to begin this second long-form segment the same way, and we're going to try to wrap this thing up with a bow. So you asked me.
I didn't mean to ever say like that you had a mental state about this.
Oh, that I was mentally crazy, or I was going to lock myself in a sanitarium?
I just meant to say that you seem in a much better mood about the chances of converting these fourth shorts, because I think you like seeing the Eagles convert fourth and shorts.
So actually, but again, you're asking me to explain my feeling.
Right.
My feeling is this, and thank you. Number one, I think we have too many rules. So I'm generally against new rules or rehashing old rules. The more rules you have, the more penalties, the slower the game is, it perturbs, it worsens the game. So I would prefer, without being emotional, certainly there's a lot of things to be emotional about, I'd prefer, number one, that Roger Goodell, keeps his own position. His job, he's a commissioner, and he should, in my view, he should let the teams, he should let the rules committee and people that are really playing the game and coaching the game without trying to influence the scales. So, yeah, I'm more emotional about Roger Goodell. I don't like him. So I'm actually more emotional about that. I don't particularly like him. But you know what? He's good for the game. If I was an owner, he's been able to turn a small investment and a big loan from Jeff Lurie into a multi-billion-dollar investment. He's able to do that for all of the teams. So if I were an owner, I would love the guy. And you know what? I don't hate him personally. He's just doing his job. Would I prefer them not add any additional rules, including this one? Yes. If they ban it, in certain part of me, I would actually think it would be fun, as long as they don't call these pushing penalties on other ones, which would slow the game down. I think the Eagles are going to use that as a badge of honor, and they're going to try to maintain their 87% through different innovations, and Charlie alluded to that, and I believe they will be able to get 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 4th and 1s, 4th and 2s. I don't think that's going to preclude the Eagles. What could keep the Eagles from winning a Super Bowl? A lot of things. And the two top things that would keep the Eagles from having a good record or winning the Super Bowl is Kevin Patullo, who is an offensive coordinator who hasn't called a play at the elementary school level, let alone at the NFL level. And I also think the egress of defenders, all the guys they lost, will have a much more profound effect than not being able to push from the backside or the tush push.
Bruce, I believe that this will clean up the game, just thinking about it, because I believe as refs, if you have to decide about like when to stop the play when the guys are pushing, when to stop forward progress, when to not stop forward progress. I liked 2002. You act like 2002 is like the Stone Age and football was not appealing. I think there were less rules in 2002. I crave to go back to 2001, 2002. Charlie, you always talk about how great it was on Sunday Ticket when there were fewer games. You could see them on DirecTV. I mean, Charlie, didn't you like the game back in 1998? The hits were harder. The defense was more fierce. There was less finesse and more bulk in the game of football. There was less speed on the field. Do you like 1998, 2002, or do you kind of prefer today's version of the National Football League?
I'll go a step further. I like 19. I'm so, like I said, we're dating ourselves, but I like, and I'm sure Doc will agree. I like 1978, 79 better than 1998, 99. Where back again, no one, all these young guys don't realize. When we were growing up, the Eagles were always blacked out. You never saw them on TV because there was only 2 games on in a day. So it made the other games so much more fascinating to watch. And look, the game was obviously so much harder hitting. The quarterbacks weren't protected like they are now. Again, you got to worry that they're taking this game global, number one, which I think is a huge mistake. Greed's going to ruin the game. And again, they're trying to keep the quarterback so upright that you're right. This is a totally different game. And honestly, it was way, way better. Even going back to, like you said, 98, 99, but go back a little further, it was that much better. It's just gotten worse as we all love football, but let's face it, it's gotten really, really, less violent over the last 20 years.
It's really frustrating.
Yes,
it's really
and
frustrating.
this is not a safety issue. And I'm going to weigh it as a sports doc. Nobody is alleging that this tush-push or this pushing has hurt anybody. In fact, the Eagles have compellingly argued that this play actually protects the quarterback. It actually encases him in players. His neck and everything, he's not, the other players they can't just come at him because there's such a wall around him. It's almost like if you put yourself in bubble wrap. And so this is not a health issue. It Spence, again, I totally understand and agree with the nostalgia. You're talking about nostalgia of hearkening back to the old days. But I don't think that this globally, they're not talking about reverting back to the old days. This is, even if they say outlawing pushing, it still doesn't change all the other, the milieu of penalties that are called. One of my illegal man downfield is one of my least favorite penalties because it rarely, if ever, really affects the play. If you have a lineman, it goes 3 or 4 yards downfield. Then you bring back, it nullifies a great play. So I'd like some modification of that. I'd like them to start eliminating penalties. And again, as you say, they're trying to protect the players. I understand if there's a defenseless receiver and he just gets clocked, we know that could be a very dangerous play. So I'm not against that, but I think we can get nostalgic. I do want to go to we're talking controversy here. And here is a controversy in Philly. I'd like to just switch gears like Rovers. We stop on a dime.
Okay.
The controversy is Jose Alvarado. Jose Alvarado, before this year, had 2 up and down years where he's either hot or cold. He couldn't find the plate. He would get wild. He certainly was a contributor in them being knocked out and not winning a World Series by his wildness, his lack of performance. And all of a sudden this year in 2025, Alvarado has had a renaissance. His velocity is up as it was. His control is up. His durability is up. And then go figure, he was just banned for 80 games. And not only the 80 games, which will basically let up in August, will be able to come back, but devastatingly, and I think that's a word, he will not be eligible to pitch in the postseason. And one of the Achilles heels of the Phillies is their bullpen and a lack of consistency and a lack of innings. And so I could look upon this as a stupid maneuver to think that you're not going to get caught, and also to say that the whole purpose of this was to lose weight. We all know that he was banned for taking an exogenous testosterone. What does that mean? It means testosterone not in his body, which was clearly delineated as a performance-enhancing drug, and he did not fight it. He did not appeal it. He didn't say that he had low testosterone, and he more or less hurt his team. He hurt himself, and secondarily hurt the fans who are rooting for this team to get over the hump and win a World Series. Charlie, your thoughts and comments on Alvarado?
At first, I was saying, well, maybe it was, blamed his agent, blamed everyone from out, but ultimately he's responsible. like everyone said. And I don't think it was an accident the more you hear about it. So I think he let his teammates down. Again, he cost himself money for sure. And again, he'll always have that stigma going forward. I think it's these days, how do you have to know what you put in your body? It's so easy just to Google it and say, is it against the MLB protocol? So I think it was intentional. And I think that, again, it's just a crappy situation for a guy who was having a pretty good year.
Well, you look, Charlie, at the year he's having, and it could easily be because of this drug. And last year you saw how erratic he was, and I think he's around 28 or 29. And once Alvarado, Charlie, once he loses that speed and velocity, I don't think he's going to age very well. So do you think that this was desperate? Are we looking at maybe the last few years of relevancy with this guy?
Well, the masking agents are so good. Look, it probably wouldn't shock me if this guy was doing this forever and just either had someone turning in something for him, or he had a masking agent covering him, probably the latter of the two. I don't think this was the first time. I'm sure. I wonder what the odds are when someone gets caught. Like, what if they could go back and ask honestly, how long have you been doing this? Like with Jackson Profar earlier in the year as well. I don't think he took it one day and got caught the next. I think most likely he had been taking it for a while, and now no one will know if he's going to be the same pitcher when he comes back. My guess is having some experience with those things, that the one thing aside from physical strength they give you is mental strength. You feel like you can take over the world when you're taking stuff like that. And trust me, I know from experience. When you wake up every day, you can't wait to get to the gym. But it's the mental part. Like, you literally feel invincible. It's not. I'm not kidding you. Like, trust me. Everything he was doing, it's the mental part that I would worry about.
And it's also interesting because we also think about, without dwelling on the Hall of Fame, obviously Pete Rose, he's now deceased. He's now eligible to be voted into the Hall of Fame. It's not going to be an easy road for him. There are a lot of you need a vast majority of writers for this special group to vote him in. And now there's talk about, are you going to liberalize the Hall of Fame for certain players who were caught in the steroid era? I, for one, if you're going to let two guys in, you're going to let the two who I think should be allowed in, if you're going to allow that, would be Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. And my reason for that is I believe that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens had such illustrious careers that I think it's clear that even before they started doing the steroids, and Barry Bonds, was a different player. He was lighter. His head was like a normal size. He was an incredible player. And I believe his stats pre-steroids would even propel him to the Hall of Fame. But again, Clemens, an amazing Cy Young Award winner, a guy before, during, and after steroids was a complete bull. So in my view, my threshold would be if you didn't have steroids, would these guys be Hall of Famers? So guys like Rafael Palmeiro, guys like Sammy Sosa, even Mark McGwire, they had just an abrupt change. Especially Sosa, they just went from mediocre to bombing home runs. In Palmeiro, what was a good player, but not a Hall of Famer. But I look upon this. So Spence, let me ask you this: if they were going to liberalize and they were going to start like just letting people just get in there, there are plenty of Hall of Famers like Ty Cobb who are bad people. And obviously Pete Rose bet on baseball. That's the cardinal sin. When you go to any clubhouse, the first thing you see is you can't bet on baseball. So this is going to be a debate. Like, we could talk 2 hours on this.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But what do you think? If there are any guys in the steroid era who you would welcome into the Hall of Fame?
It's a shame. I mean, I really loved those players growing up. I was a kid when these guys were playing. I will honestly say that if you're a horrible person outside of baseball, I don't think that should have any bearing on if you're a Hall of Famer, because we can look at a class guy like Chase Utley, And if he were to do something heinous, because we're all human beings, we're not the Lord, we can all sin. You know, I just think that it has nothing to do with. I think that when you're on the field and you're in the clubhouse, that should be good enough. Like Curt Schilling, I think, should be in the Hall of Fame no matter what he thinks. You know, no matter what his post career is like. And so I think it's kind of ridiculous that Curt Schilling's not in it, and I think that these steroid guys, that is more of a question because, you know, Sammy Sosa was corking his bat, and you did have McGwire.
Corking his body also.
And it was really a cheat. And it is really cheating. Betting on baseball, now with all the gambling, I mean, I'm not really as offended. There's some, by the way, with Alvarado, I wish they would have suspended him 30 games. I think it's too harsh, the 80 games. I really do, for one thing. And then also Adderall. I would let players take Adderall. Like Carlos Ruiz was on Adderall. It helped him focus. Like, I think that really we should loosen up some of these rules. Like, and I do feel bad for Garrett Cole. Like, Bruce, when I play golf, I use hand cream on my hands to help me dry.
But you
the
don't
club.
use steroid cream.
No, but spider tack, like, I don't know. Like, can we use a little bit of tack for Garrett Cole? Are you
Garrett
really
Cole,
that
did
offended?
he get suspended because of that?
It's just I'm not sure. Like, I want to give these guys the equipment that they feel comfortable with, but maybe I just sound, you know, a little bit ludicrous that it's cheating. I don't. Where do you stand? I guess with spider tack. I guess I'll ask you.
So my feeling is, if there's something that's going to give somebody a better grip. And I don't really care. So spider tack, yeah. I've had spider tack before. I remember we tried to play basketball spider tack, and that's a problem because the basketball will stick to your hands like crazy glue. So I actually have no problem with guys using rosin.
Charlie, what do you think of grip with baseball bat? Or
yeah,
with,
what do you say? Gripping items like spider tack or like
a baseball
pine
bat.
tar.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I think I know the answer. Do you have a problem with somebody having a good grip on whatever they're gripping?
Not at all.
I didn't think so.
I think baseball has these writers that think they are so above everyone else. If baseball is like humanity. Look, you're not going to tell me there's wife beaters and worse people in the Hall of Fame than Pete Rose. True story. Now, I'm not exaggerating a bit. I know one of the bookies personally that Pete Rose bet with. This is a true story. He confirmed to me there is never an occasion that he bet against his own team, ever. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I think Pete Rose was too much of a winner to even consider that. Did he have a gambling problem? No. He liked to gamble. At the end of the day, if he wasn't betting against his own team, I don't see the problem with that. I just don't. It's part of life.
And especially now, like you say, Charlie, especially now that betting is totally legal, and that the whole idea, it's almost like putting somebody in jail for prohibition, like if they drink a beer, and then they legalized alcohol and you could go to a bar drink. I think you have to loosen that up. I understand the context of it. And Pete Rose flaunted it. He could have handled it better. I mean, there's no question about it. But on the other hand, he did have a great cottage industry. But I think if he was a Hall of Famer, he still would have signed as many baseballs because the guy was just
he's a Hall of Fame player. So I think that he should be in for being a player.
Nobody's going to beat that hit record.
How was he as a manager, honestly? Did he make the playoffs with Cincinnati?
Well, that's not the issue. The issue is a player.
In my opinion, he was on the best team of all time. That was Big Red Machine, best team of all time.
You're right. And this guy, listen, for 20 years, he didn't miss any games, no load management. For 20 consecutive years, he hit the more hits than anybody. The only thing you can say about him, he didn't hit for power. He hit some. But as far as hitting for average and being a machine, literally on the Big Red Machine, there's no question that he is the hit king and will remain the hit king. And he, in my view, belongs in the Hall of Fame.
So I do agree, first of all, that Pete Rose, especially as a player, I will, Bruce, I will give you a devil's advocate point, okay? I mean, for the interest of the show, but I also could believe this. So if you bet on your team to win, like every game, say that there's a pitcher his arm is kind of, hurting him a tiny bit, would you maybe sacrifice like the long-term health of a pitcher to maybe win that individual game? That's kind of a question I would have for you. I guess that could be the only thing that could jeopardize it is if you're so win now and you're overplaying guys and not preparing for the rest of the year. But I guess if you're betting on every single game the same way, you know what I'm saying? Like
I understand your question. Here's the deal. I believe Pete Rose wanted to win every game. Every game he played, every game he managed. I know his persona. He might be flawed. He might have done some things, or he did do some things, and he lied a lot, and he always leveraged money. He would do anything for a dollar. But you could look at people like you could look at Lawrence Taylor, who I think arguably is the best defensive player of all time, and I did see him in his career. Best linebacker of all time. He's flawed. He's been arrested for drugs multiple times. He's done things in his private life with women, despicable things. He's in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. And there are guys in that field. In O.J. Simpson, there's no question he was at least convicted on from a civil standpoint of murdering two people. Not criminally, but civilly, and he never made restitution. But yet he remains in the Hall of Fame and was just on the field one of the best, maybe the second best running back. Jim Brown may be the best, and O.J. Simpson may be the second best. Yes. Charlie, you've seen these people. You saw his career. O.J. might be the second best that you've seen. Agree, disagree?
I would put Barry Sanders number 2, who retired way too early because his team. And again, Barry Sanders will tell you he retired because his team stunk.
Right.
I think Barry Sanders was probably – I never saw Jim Brown. I just hear the legend, and I'm not going to discount that. Barry Sanders was the best I've ever seen.
So you would say – but you've seen, obviously, O.J. Simpson.
Top 5.
O.J. was tremendous.
Let's talk about the running.
I never saw – for the record, I'm old, but not old enough to see Jim Brown.
I'm going to give you a couple of names. So I'm going to give you an accomplished back. I don't think he has the talent of these other guys, but I think Emmitt Smith, if you just look at the accomplishments of Emmitt, the winning and the yardages. And then how about this player, Walter Payton? What about those two guys? And then you know what the third guy is, Adrian Peterson. He's kind of a modern player, but I think that's probably the best back that I watched as a kid.
Well, I would say Walter Payton is many ways, and I did see him play, reminded me of Barry Sanders in the two, Charlie will wait, but I would say as far as being elusive, as far as being gifted and being able to cut, shift positions and evade tacklers, Walter Payton and Barry Sanders of that type of running back are absolutely at the top of that style. Charlie?
Yeah, I agree. But two careers cut way too short that I agree that I think I never saw one of them play, but I know the legend. Gale Sayers and Bo Jackson, I think also would put up there. And then we're forgetting also Dickerson and, look, my favorite running back, Earl Campbell, and Dorsett as well. But, Gale, like I said, I would put Gale Sayers, believe it or not, in that top 5 with Walter Payton, 2 Bears.
You're right.
But again,
Gale Sayers was tremendous.
Short.
Just tremendous players, great people. Anybody who hasn't seen the movie Brian's Song, that's an older movie. I would cry every time I saw that particular movie. And there are so many great running backs, but you're right. We're really having a nice discussion about that.
And then,
I want to switch, though, because we're down to our last 4 minutes.
Yes.
I want to switch. We're throwing this one right to Charlie Bowles. There are rumors building up, and it seems almost an eventuality that one Aaron Rodgers will be heading to your hometown Pittsburgh Steelers. Your thoughts, Charlie?
I think the Steelers, I think it's time for Mike Tomlin to move on and have his Andy Reid moment. And just, I think that, again, what do you really hope to do with Aaron Rodgers? You're not going to win a Super Bowl. The Steelers are in purgatory. They are going to remain in purgatory. I think the coaching staff actually done an outstanding job winning so many games. They've overachieved. But there's a limit that Aaron Rodgers can take you these days. And maybe that's the first round, maybe not even. Maybe if he doesn't stay healthy. I mean, the Steelers need to make up their mind on who they are. I think they need to move on from Tomlin and get very young. And right now, with AJ, I'm sure Watt's going to want out next year if nothing happens. And what's Rodgers going to give you? A year? I think it's a terrible decision and a way to sell tickets.
So Charlie, I completely agree. And I actually look at, you know what pick could really come back to hurt them is look at Cleveland's strategy. Now, they did have the second overall pick, but the Los Angeles Rams had the 26th overall pick, and they got Atlanta's first round pick. So the Pittsburgh Steelers could have given up Derek Harmon, who is a defensive tackle who could be a nice player at the 21st pick. They could have gotten an extra quarterback next year, an extra first round pick. And then, Charlie, it doesn't make sense, right? If you're going all in, why don't you pair Metcalf with Pickens, right? If you're going all in. And then, by the way, Charlie, if you want Aaron Rodgers to compete for a Super Bowl, he only has 1 year anyway. OTAs are crucial to build up reps in the Learn Arthur Smith's offense, right?
Yeah, it's almost like Jekyll and Hyde what they're doing. We're going to get Metcalf, but we're not going to have a quarterback to throw to Metcalf. Like, you really can't go in with Mason Rudolph. So Rodgers is holding them. He can hold them hostage at this point if he wants to, because Cousins isn't moving.
How about Will Howard?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe he's a development project for 2 years from now. Like, he can't come in and start. There's just no way. He may start, but he's not going to win any games. I think the Steelers again are a team that has gotten caught by their own success. But again, let's remember that success is now over a decade old. Mike Tomlin's record in the playoffs is not very good. I think it's time to move on, get young, and look. Here's the thing: if Shedeur Sanders, by any chance, has a great career, boy, is that going to backfire on Pittsburgh for passing on him in the third round. Now, I don't think he will.
Well, I think it could backfire on a lot of, let's face it, the whole league pass on him round after round after round. So, yes, the Steelers certainly have a dire need for quarterback, but there's certainly teams around the league that have bad quarterbacks, and there's not many very good ones even.
Did anybody see a couple days ago when Cam Ward asked Shedeur Sanders for a signed jersey and Shedeur Sanders said, no, I need to sell this? Like, what? You talk about a guy who doesn't get it.
You're right.
Yeah, you talk about a guy who doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He still doesn't.
I think that it's funny because the Cleveland Browns, if you watch their videos, Bruce, like they have like 100,000 views on everything Sanders because he does have a following, like a massive groundswell of people. And I think that might have been a motivation for Cleveland, but it just doesn't really make any sense to ever have him on the bench. The starter, I just don't think he could perform well under their circumstances. So, listen, it is going to be entertaining. I think the Browns will be entertaining, and I want to see. I am curious. It'll give the offseason some juice because now without preseason, really, I want some juice in the offseason.
You're right. And to the Cleveland Browns' credit, they don't have any problem selling tickets. I mean, that is one of the most rabid. It's true, Spence. They sell out every game. You might not know that, but the Cleveland Browns sell out every game. It's a rabid fan base. Now, again, they haven't tasted victory, and but Browns fans, but they're looking at a real odd group of quarterbacks. You have Dylan Gabriel, I think will be good. Joe Flacco, he's a veteran, and if he's totally healthy, which he is, he hasn't played that much. He would probably be able to engineer this team as well as anybody. Gabriel is a project. I think he will have to learn it. And then you've got Sanders, and there's one more.
Pickett.
Oh,
or Watson's hurt.
Oh, right. But Kenny Pickett, who we know I think is better than average. I mean, obviously Charlie saw him a lot. He's no more than an average quarterback, or I would call an average backup quarterback. So, yeah. Charlie, I don't think he's going to light the world on fire.
What do you? Kenny Pickett? No,
he can't.
I know you've tasted his mediocrity.
Well, he can't, Bruce. He just can't. But I think the Browns are the most popular preseason team. I mean, I think that their offseason could be great. And listen, we have to enjoy these next couple of years because the NFL, they're expanding globally. The Browns have even thought about putting a dome on their stadium. And the days when we're doming up every stadium in Ohio, that's when the league's gone too far, in my opinion.
So We are in our last minute. I want to use this last minute to say I want to thank all of the listeners and viewers of Rover Sports. So many of you out there. I want to thank you, well-wishers. As you know, my daughter Sutton graduated from UPenn this week and is going for medical training in New York. So I'm very proud of her. And I am guilty of being a proud papa and overposting. I want to thank Tyler, Matt, Charlie Bowles, Spencer G. I want to thank Josh for calling in. I want to congratulate the Lewises, Alec and Jordan Lewis, and the whole Lewis family for their graduations. And as always, good night and good sports.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675. That's 610-222-5675.